Welcome back to the Witch's Way podcast. This is Kat.
And Jamie.
Tonight we're going to be talking about healing through journaling, writing your way to wellness. We're going to talk about the benefits of journaling and how to start healing with a writing practice. Journaling is one of the most accessible and powerful tools for healing. It's not about being a great writer. It's about expressing yourself honestly and giving yourself permission to feel and process your emotions. It's important to answer this question. What is journaling to you? Whatever you think it is, it will be. Tonight we're going to go over the power of journaling for emotional and mental well-being. What happens to our brain while we're engaged in journaling? How journaling is connected to the ancient art of storytelling. The long-term benefits of journaling. How to start and where to find prompts.
That was an extremely beautiful opening, I just want to say. Thank you so much. It sounded so NPR perfect. I loved it. It's so good.
You're funny.
She's so good at it.
You're funny. Okay.
So journaling is just one of those things that is tossed around and people usually say, oh, yeah, I've heard of journaling. Like, oh, big deal, blah, blah, right? I don't know. Don't you think so?
I do. Yeah.
I mean, even making this, I was like, fuck, how do I make sure they know journaling is important? So we put together this podcast for you guys to talk about journaling sort of in a different way, not just like, create a journaling practice, sit with yourself. Like, I really want to give you guys some facts that will hopefully get you excited about journaling. And then Kat and I, we journal on and off, and we have some confessions about that.
I have a big confession.
Big confessions. It doesn't have to be just now. We're going to get to that part.
Okay.
But yeah,
right. I'm going to confess later, so stay tuned.
Shall we be considered perfect or imperfect journalers? All the pressure around it.
Oh my goodness.
Do you know what gave me a lot of anxiety about journaling? When they came out with those Boju journals. Fuck, I wish I remembered.
What
it
were
was
they?
The one with all the squares and you all the dots, and then you make designs like using that. There was a name like Boju or Bo something. Anyways, it was like that looks
dotted ones.
Yeah. I was like, that looks so pleasing. And then it was a lot of pressure. I was like, my shit doesn't, no, I can't compete. I don't know. I didn't like it. I was like, no, it started to feel like more of a chore than something that was therapeutic. So I really want to tell you guys about the benefits, okay? The benefits of journaling for emotional and mental wellness. Remember, our podcast is all about healing ourselves and getting through traumas and finding tools that we can use to assist in our healing and moving past traumas. And journaling truly is one of those things. And we're going to let you know why. Number one, this is a means of self-reflection, okay? What is spirituality all about? Living in the moment, being reflective, being aware of yourself, really understanding yourself. Like, that is what we're growing into, is just a better understanding of ourselves.
Know thyself.
What is that from? Because that sounded biblical.
Yeah, well, it's...
Is it?
No, it's
no.
I don't know.
Is it a motto?
No, it's a famous quote from somebody, but I don't know who. Yeah, I think was a writer, but I'm not sure. It might have been like Shakespeare.
No, that sounds like his time period.
I'm not sure.
Sure. We're going to go with Shakespeare on that one. And you guys can leave us a comment below. We love.
Yeah, you can go ahead and laugh because I only know the phrase. I just don't know who said it.
Oh, I thought it was like a Bible thing because it was the know thyself.
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
Oh, I don't know. So self-reflection is huge, right? And when we are reflecting on things, it actually relieves our stress because we're answering questions. We're actually thinking about things. What stresses us out is not knowing and then just like fretting over the unknown. And it gives us time to process the emotions that sometimes we don't get to do while we're in the situations. So if we're processing our emotions, that means we're also like getting our thoughts clarified, right? When you're writing things down, you're starting to sort of see it from another angle and you're not in the emotional situation that you were in. You're like now in a place of being able to reflect and really know yourself and what's going on. And I think what journaling has done for me is sometimes things come up that I didn't realize I didn't know. I was like, oh shit, there's a gap in my knowledge there. Like I need to look some stuff up. So it can help with that. I know they say it allows you to assess problems from a new perspective, but I just think that's part of like, as you process it, things come to light. It's sort of like how you have a problem, but when you go to talk about it with somebody, you don't really need them to answer you, because eventually you figure it out on your own as you talk about it. Mm-hmm. That happen to you?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, sometimes I've had to tell people, I don't really need you to answer this, but I just need to like talk it through. I need to talk it out, and kind of like just say all the things. Yeah. And sometimes with help, I come to the right conclusion, or my conclusion, or whatever. Yeah. But journaling can really help with that. And I'll tell you what, when you're writing about situations, it can help you move on quicker from them, because you're getting all that shit out instead of like holding on to it and ruminating about it. It can really help you move on from bad situations, or at least in your journal, you can cuss somebody the fuck out, and you don't gotta do it in real life. And then you're like, oh, all of a sudden I feel better. Okay, I can move on.
I really love rage journaling.
Rage journaling, yes.
I do.
Yeah.
When I was, in my last relationship, and I would be so mad, and there was nobody that wanted to hear about it. Oh. Boy, I would sit down with pen and paper and go just crazy.
I love that for you. Yeah. I get into that later about how, like, sometimes journaling is so good for us because we don't have anybody else that we can turn to about our problems or about what we're thinking.
Sometimes your friends just don't want to hear it anymore.
Your friends don't want to hear it. You don't feel safe talking to your partner. There's not somebody who you think won't judge you. Like, there's a lot of reasons why we don't talk out our emotional stressors and like what we're going through. Mm-hmm. We almost find it not important. It's like, no, nobody wants to hear about my problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand that. That's why everybody should have a fucking therapist. Like, everybody should have a therapist.
Your journal can be your therapist.
They'll show up for you anytime. Just be there. So another thing, if you're listening and you are a caretaker of any kind, like a nurse, any kind of practitioner, if you have to care for loved ones, if you're I think even parenting is caring for people, truly. But I want you to know that when you're a caretaker, they actually do studies on this, because I don't know if you know this, but people who are caretakers often suffer a lot because their needs don't get met because they're busy taking care of other people.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that.
AKA women in general, I think.
AKA, women as a rule.
I mean, so if you're a caretaker of any kind, writing about what you're feeling and what you're experiencing, it's the most beneficial for people who don't have another outlet.
I wonder if this is how mommy blogs got so popular.
Ooh, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Have you read mommy blogs?
No.
Me neither.
No.
Why didn't we?
Well, because mommy blogs came along after,
You were a mommy.
Yeah. Well, the time had passed when I would have been interested in reading what other women had to say. And plus, I probably would have felt like their lives were perfect and mine sucked, because sometimes that's what they write in there. But sometimes they write the funny things. They make light of, at least
the hard situations.
They make light of it so that they can keep their sanity.
Sure. See, it's like they're telling all their friends their problems, and maybe they do or don't get people who write back to them, but getting it out is so therapeutic.
Yes.
In whatever way you can.
It's cathartic.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Cathartic. I didn't use that word in here today, but
cathartic, therapeutic.
Yeah. It's a release. Okay. I know that some of you will think that journaling is not helpful, and that you don't really see the point of it because you don't understand what you're supposed to get out of it. And maybe you're afraid somebody will like find it and read it one day. So there's lots of ways to journal and what to put it in. It doesn't have to be in a physical book, but it can be electronic. It can be notes in your phone to yourself. But the purpose is to get out of your head all the things you're thinking and feeling into something else, on something else, however you choose to do that. I want you to know that it's not for anyone other than you, but that it actually helps everyone, including you, because getting out all that shit will help your relationships eventually. Like, you'll know yourself better. You'll be able to react to things better. Like, it'll be good for you and your relationships as you heal yourself, because that's what this is about. I want to give a statistic. I had to go some sciencey nerd shit on this since I've got my psych degree. Like, I can't help but think about all the benefits.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
Nerdy witch.
If I don't know, if I had more time and attention, I would have totally ran with that. Mm-hmm. So there's actually studies that are published on journaling saying that it can reduce depression symptoms and improve your mental clarity by 53%.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a healthy drug right there.
That is.
Improve your mood by 53%.
Yeah.
I could take
For
that.
sure.
So if you're only feeling at 50%, you could feel 103% after journaling. And, you know, they say that there's a certain amount of time that kind of goes into this with getting the effects of journaling. And so in the study, what they did is they had people just journal consistently for 15 to 20 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week. And there's no preface of like what you have to write about. You could just write anything down, anything.
I also think that, you know, as you start a witchcraft journey, that it's really interesting to write about how you are today as you begin,
yeah.
and then watch how you evolve over time
yeah.
as you incorporate other practices into your life, and as you become aware of some of your habits and the ways you've always done things.
Yeah.
And you start to see a change in yourself, and you start to like make changes in yourself and decide that you want to be a higher vibration.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, I know when we did our Beginner Witch series, we always talked about that. It's like, start a journal.
Yeah.
Start journaling
Start writing.
about what you're doing, because when you look back on it 5 years from now, you're going to be able to see your growth.
Your growth, yeah. That evolution is not always apparent to us because we see the same person every day in the mirror, right? It's like you have to almost have a gap somewhere where you don't look in the mirror and then you see yourself change, right? Because if you're looking at it every single day, you're like, I don't see a change. That's why we don't notice when our spouses are getting chunkier, because we see them every day. So the pounds just add up little by little by little.
Well, it's interesting. So our next point is about what happens to your brain. So that's definitely something that you don't see.
You don't see.
You do not see this. But what's
No.
happening in your brain when you I said, I almost said drain. What happens in your brain when you're rewiring your brain when
Yeah.
you're writing, because by reflecting on your emotions and your experiences, you actually form new neural pathways of positive thought patterns. Boom.
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 You're literally rewiring your brain.
Reduced stress and anxiety is the
result,
of
right?
that.
Yeah.
So, you know, you might ask, like, why? The part of our brain that's responsible for decision making and problem solving becomes more active, allowing us to process and organize our thoughts. Add to this, if we are writing about emotions, also activates the part of the brain responsible for emotional processing. So, I mean, I think this is so important, because I know we don't realize, of course, we can't see ourselves changing.
Yeah.
We definitely can't see what's going
On our
on,
brain,
what's happening
yeah.
in our brain and how our brain is being rewired. We see the effects of that way later on
Yeah.
as our life starts to change.
Yeah.
I feel like, because all of a sudden it's like some of those old patterns that were there, you realize that they're no longer there. You look back and
Yeah.
say, oh my gosh.
You don't react the same to things,
Yeah.
or you even don't think the same things. Like once you get some of this stuff out, you're able to see it on paper, and then you're like, do I actually think that and feel that way? You know? And so with the new thoughts, the new neural pathway is built. And then with the new neural pathway, your habits are changing, you know, and that was in our last podcast about being able to break bad habits. There's an important part of it where you are making new neural pathways in your brain. And that takes activities. Remember, it's watch your ass, right? What was it? Actions?
AASS.
That's right. AASS. Actions as what was it?
Actions as self-soothing?
Self-support.
Self-support, okay.
Soul support, self-support, spirit support. Those were like the three. I was like, I couldn't choose a word. So whichever one you think, but it's watch your ass.
Yeah, so...
Or mind your mind, but that's not
moving on
funny.
from the sciencey part of this,
Right.
Let's connect journaling to our ancestors.
I do love that. Listen, the journaling to the ancestors, anything that I can do to like reconnect to the old ways. I don't know why. Always been a thing of mine.
It really makes you feel witchy, doesn't it? When you can like say,
Yes.
when you can connect to that, you just feel this connection
past.
across time.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it makes us feel like we're bigger than what we are right now.
Absolutely,
Like we're more meaningful than just this one lifetime.
Yeah.
So I love being able to connect things back to anything that was done in the old world that could still persist today and help us, because that's what we grew from. I mean, no matter which ones your ancestors are.
Without all of that, we wouldn't be here.
We wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
We needed all of that.
We needed all the struggles of our
all
ancient...
of their struggles. I mean, we're just like, I was going to say stepping stones, but that's not quite right.
We're the evolution of
the
it.
evolution
We're just
of us.
evolving as people and as societies. You can really see the change from ancient times to now. It's like, whoa, where are we going to be in 500 years from now?
Even in just 50. I mean, look at the last 50 years. It's been fucking crazy. If somebody was just, like one of those vampires that have lived 500 years and they journaled, imagine in like the last 50 or 60 years, they're going, what the fuck is happening? The world's changing really fast now. Like only every 50 years I had to change one thing about myself, a style or something. He's like, I gotta learn all this shit. Like it's all brand new.
For sure.
So when we connect journaling to the ancestors, I want you to know that it really starts with storytelling, because there wasn't like written language wasn't a thing a long time ago, right? So writing things down was not the way that we did it. We had pictographs, which is basically like hieroglyphics and stuff to tell stories, to remind us of what happened. But how were all of our secrets kept? How were the clans and the tribes and all the people, like how were their histories and experiences recorded? Oral teachings. So storytelling and journaling can be storytelling. It's your own personal storytelling. It's your story in your journal. So what I really love about the art of storytelling, which is a book, is that it goes through being able to understand what makes a good story versus one that's hard to follow. And if you can hear that crunching in the background, that is, I'm sure, my kiddo in the kitchen fixing something. Hey, sweetheart, we're recording a podcast. Oh, he probably can't hear me. He has his headphones in.
I bet he has his headphones in.
He doesn't even know. Love it. You guys are just getting a little insight into our lives. So in this storytelling with the ancients, a lot of the things that they actually recorded were like the heroism and the traumas. So they were on the highs of the highs and the lows of the lows. They wanted to retell the stories that could be the most beneficial to the future generation.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because you want to learn from the lessons, right? Sure. It wasn't just like boasting about who they are, but it was inspiring people. It was learning from, who came before them. And this oral storytelling that got passed down, and you kept hearing the important morals of stories, and like, this is how culture got built, is through storytelling. So I want you to think of yourself as this micro culture. You are a culture within yourself, the things you like, the way you dress, what you want to eat, the music you listen to, do you like cats or dogs or both? Or, are you super witchy and out there? Or are you just like, I'm like mildly witchy, So whatever it is, you're your own person in all of this. You have your own unique identity. And so as you write in your journal, that's what you're recording is part of that. And that helps me think about what I'm going to journal about, what my prompts are, what's truly important for me to write down, what can I learn most from,
Yeah.
So that I don't go off on like just recording my day. Like I'm a fucking, like one of those people in court that they're just like typing everything that happened.
Woke up at 8:00, had breakfast.
Ate breakfast, had coffee, saw a butterfly.
Took the dog for a walk.
Had a nice morning poop after my coffee. I mean, I don't know. What are we recording here? Like maybe those things are important.
That sounds very clinical.
It would be. It would be. It wouldn't be like. So I think the healing part of journaling that we're really talking about is writing your experiences that have emotion, that have your feelings involved. What are you feeling? What emotions are you carrying with you right now? Those are the ones that when you write about them, you're gonna start figuring stuff out. That's where the self-reflection comes in and stuff. If you're writing about your day, I'm not sure what you're gonna get out of that besides. Damn, I poop a lot.
A record.
Just kidding. I don't know.
A record of what you've done every day, which, like, why?
You could submit that to your doctor and be like, here, now you know what I do.
I was just thinking about the emotional aspect of it and how writing when you're emotional is so helpful. That is the time when I want to write. When I have a worry, like I had a situation recently where I was like, freak out mode for about a minute, and I was like, I need to write this down because it did relieve the stress of it.
Yeah, the anxiety around it.
Once I could get those thoughts out of my head and down onto paper, then I could let go of them. Even though I didn't change the situation,
Yeah.
I still was able to let go of the thoughts that initially, when I learned of this particular situation, I kind of like, oh my God, this is terrible. What's going to happen? The worry.
Yeah. The worry that just comes over us.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that with our stories and the way that we write things down and the stories that we tell ourselves about our own lives can sometimes become apparent too. When we talked about, in the first podcast, when we talked about generational trauma and the stories that we hear, that actually that's how it's passed down, right? Is like one family history is just repeated. And the importance of being able to get your own story down and really see it from a perspective of like, first you feel it, then you tell it to paper, then you can actually read it like it's something else. It exists outside of yourself now. It's like making sense of your human experience as a soul, as a spirit, as a higher spiritual person, and really trying to deal with the emotional pain that you have to go through while you're here. Because I don't think any of us feel like, oh, yep, this is how it's supposed to be. I think most of the time people who are spiritual are fighting it, going, there fucking has to be a better way than this. Something has got to give. Like, we're not all supposed to be this hurt and broken all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that, like when we get into groups of people, whether it's relationships or, a coven type setting, that's what we all bond over anyways, is like, what pains have you been through that I can understand? And, this is where we really create our bonds of, man, I really get it. I see you. I get you. Right. That whole thing again. I see you. I see your soul. I see your spirit.
So the next point we want to make is about the long-term benefits of journaling. So emotional healing, we've already kind of touched on that already.
Yeah, all of it combined creates the emotional healing.
So I told you about this recent situation where I went into freak out mode, and I was like, I have to get this out and write this down. But it helps us to gain insight and into like our emotional triggers and patterns, and we can find it easier to communicate with others. It can help improve relationships, all of our relationships with ourselves and with other people. And it can even help you get rid of people or things that don't serve you anymore. So
I think that's important.
And
yeah.
You can look at that and go, what am I doing? I have this one.
Do we both have a story about this? Because like you're going, I have one too.
Yeah, because I have this one. I came across a journal that I had, and I opened it up, and it was when I was raging over something that my ex did, and I start reading it, and I was so mad. But when I read it now, 5 or 6 or 7 years later, whatever that was, because I can't remember when it happened, but it was almost funny to me.
Oh my God, you laughed at yourself with it?
I think I did, because I was so emotional. I was so pissed.
Yeah.
I was just so pissed. And then when I looked back at it, I was like, yeah, I just needed to leave, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was just a bad situation all the way around.
It was just, So it's good to look back and be able to laugh at something that was pretty painful at the time.
Back then, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I, unfortunately, well, that's the end of the story. I'm starting at the end. I ended up tossing so many of my journals from early in my 20s and everything.
Oh, that's right. I think you told me about that.
Yeah.
Because you were worried about someone reading them.
No, somebody did find them.
Oh.
Yeah. So my son's father, when we were like, okay, this is so stupid, but we met in Japan because we were in the Navy, right? And I had a house like out in the Japanese community, and he lived on the ship. So he would stay at my house, and I was a stickler for being prudish for a pretty long time. So I was like, you can come stay with me, but we are not having sex. And he's like, I don't want to have sex with you anyways. So we were funny like that. I was like, good, fine. And we know we're both interested, but we're like holding out. We're like, no. So he is staying at my house one time, and he goes to the bathroom. And in Japan, the bathroom is a bathroom closet. It's just a toilet in a closet. Like, there's nothing else in there. There's not a sink. There's not anything. You have to go to a different part to like wash your hands and all that. So he's in the toilet closet, and he's in there for a long time. And I was just like, all right, he's pooping, right? I fucking forgot that I had like a bookshelf in there, and all my journals and writings were in there. Why? Why did I keep them in my toilet room? I have no idea. But that's where they were. That motherfucker was sitting on the toilet reading my journals. Like,
Oh man.
all the deets, to all my relationship stuff, to like divorcing my ex, and like just all the shit. I had this like fling with a guy that, and he read it, and I wasn't going to give him any of that personal information yet. Like I barely knew him a month so far,
That's an
right?
invasion of privacy.
You're fucking telling me. And for him to come out and then start calling me on stuff, or to say, you know, when I found out he read it, he's like, oh no, I didn't really read it. But months later, what happened? He starts bringing up my shit that I was like, you don't know about that. Well, that's what I read. And I'm like, so those journals nagged him so much that until I actually got rid of them to try to keep him with me. You know, that's one of those things you're like, I'll just sacrifice all this other shit because I really want this guy.
That's a shame. Because,
it's such a shame. You don't even understand. Oh my gosh. So I think of somebody inspiring to us who we love and just adore, right? Taylor Swift, Miss TS13. She still has her journals from like 12 years old.
Man.
And
How cool would that be?
the one journal that I had from back then, well, I was probably 8 or 9 when I got this book. It was right when we moved to Kansas. And it was, we signed up for this like, girls becoming women thing. I don't know. They sent me a bunch of books on like growing up as a girl. And it was books on girls who were heroines and things like, Island of the Blue Dolphins. Mm-hmm. Okay. One of my favorite books from when I was younger, cause she was like a warrior. I got a free journal with that, so I had written in it. And when fucking Hurricane Ian came through here, that shit was in the basement that got flooded. And so I lost it. And I just was like, that was the last one. That was my last old journal that I had to get rid of. Yeah. So I know what you guys are thinking right now, right? They're all thinking out there, everybody who's listening. They're so excited to start journaling. They're like, look at all the things that could go right with this. Let's do it. All right. So how do we start journaling? Like, how do you start a journaling practice?
How do you start a journaling practice? Well, I think you start by not overthinking and just doing it.
Yeah.
You know, start small, 5 or 10 minutes a day. Just let everything flow without worrying about about grammar or structure or scribbling out words because you misspell them, which is a big thing for me. So I would always I would really hate it when I would make a mistake, and I've had to let go of that because I do make, I start writing so fast that my hands get ahead. They're out of sync. They're out of sync. And then I end up leaving out words and stuff like that. And I'm like, nobody's ever going to know what the hell this says. Okay, that's probably a good thing. Maybe if they come across it. Supplies, man.
That's my most enjoyable part of this.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many pretty notebooks and all kinds of things that you can do that you can decorate.
Can we talk about all the pen colors and the stickers and the washi tapes? And
oh my goodness,
I have way too many of these things. Like my markers are going to dry up before I get to use them all because I just want every color out there for whatever I'm feeling. All right. And I thought what the freaking journals are called, bullet journals. That was
bullet.
That was such a fad. And I loved it because it was very artistic. And so I just kind of made my own. I still want lines. I don't like the fucking dots. It's not pleasing.
Yeah, I remember seeing yours. So Jamie's very much the artist. And I remember seeing her journal like open on her desk. And there was not that many words on the page, but there was a lot of art and drawing and washi tape and stickers.
Yes.
And there was like a short paragraph, but then there was all this decoration,
the art that went with it.
All this decoration going on around it. So, but you were getting your thoughts down is what you were doing. And you were succinct about it because you got it down into a paragraph. So you don't have to write for long, it's not like you got to write 5 pages.
No.
When it's helpful to write that length of time is when you're really going through a hard time and you're really struggling.
That's when you're just in the flow and it all just comes out.
Yeah.
You're not even thinking about has it been 10 minutes yet?
You just let it go.
Yeah. I think that's really helpful. There's definitely been times in my past that I just ranted in journals and then I was like, I'm never going to reread that. I don't need to. I got it out and I just want it to be done.
Yeah.
Some of the pages in my journals that I don't want to revisit, I make sure I use I don't have a lot of black washi tapes and things. So these dark colors, I know that's going to be a fucking sad page and don't reread it. Don't stop at it. So any pages I want to reread are always like the prettier colors. I'm like, oh, what was that day about? Or, what was going on there? But if there's any kind of black and white washi tapes and stickers, I'm like, nope, that's going to be a bad one. Don't revisit it.
So I think another thing to do, especially for us as as a witchcraft practice, is to make your journal writing a ritual. So, set a time of day. Maybe it's before you get started, or maybe it's before you go to bed, and create a ritual around it. Like find a quiet space, light a candle, brew some tea, create this like calming environment. And you can think of this time as self-care, and you deserve that. And you deserve to take 10 or 15 minutes out of your day for yourself. And that's what this is really for.
It's for you.
It's for you.
Yeah.
You could also choose to write during, different moon phases if you wanted to.
Making it
you
a
could
ritual for
schedule
that.
it around a moon phase, like a new moon for intentions, or a full moon for release, because that's what those moons are associated with. Use crystals, get some candles going, put on some soft music.
Things that inspire you or bring out the feels, like, yeah.
And then, you could even set intentions, like before you start, like set an intention, like, what do you want to do? Maybe you're releasing negativity, or, negative energy, or you're trying to manifest some positive outcome, or you're just trying to gain some clarity around an emotional situation. Maybe had a fight with your mother or something like that, and you want to just, get that out of your head.
Yeah.
So, those are the types of things that you can do now. We've connected it to our ancestors. Now we're in modern times.
Yeah.
Now we're in the modern times where we have writing instruments.
Yeah.
Not like when we had to tell stories, and that's how we shared information. But now we can write about it, and we can create this little ritual around it. I feel like that's very comforting to do that.
Well, I think of it as truly self-care. And I will admit that, like, I haven't journaled since last year when all shit went to fucking hell, like just in a handbasket and all of that.
Yeah.
I have not sat down with it because I have a couple things blocking me, right? Number one, what the fuck do I do with the time in between? Like, I date my stuff, so I'm like, okay, I've got a 1.5 year gap. Like, what am I doing with that? I have to come to terms with what that's going to look like for me. Do I go back and try to go through some of the stuff? Do I talk about that? Do I write what's been going on the last 1.5 years? Because I feel like that will be a book by itself, or do I just start fresh and be like, well, here I am again, had a nice long break, and,
maybe if you can summarize it.
No idea. But that's what stops me. That's what holds me back right now, because I feel like I just can't jump into another journal, because I think, did you already say what your bad habit is with journaling? No. Well, Kat's about to
admitted to my bad journaling
that.
habit. I probably have 47 journals started. I switch them up. I get bored with it. I forget where I put it. Then I get another one. I always go looking for like pretty books, and
Notebooks,
then I'll buy like 3 or 4 of them at the same time, and I'll have them somewhere, and then I'll just switch for no reason. I've never finished an entire notebook. So now my solution is to buy smaller notebooks.
Yeah, less pages.
Maybe I can actually finally finish one.
I love that. Well, I want to point something out that I see in your regular life that could like also coincide with what your journaling life is like. You have a need to move your furniture around about every 1.5 months. Like, you can't stick with the same thing, the same feeling.
I used to be like that, really. I don't do that as much.
Really? But do you want to talk about that? Because I can name in the last 1.5 years all the things that you've done and changed. And even when we were done with all the witchy decorations and we made this in March, nothing has been going on. And then I come here and your living room is totally different. I was like, oh, okay, now we moved the couch and the chairs.
When I was young, when I was all through my 20s and probably all through my 30s too, I used to change my living room around every week, you guys. Every week.
Did you do that when I was a kid?
Yes, I did. And in fact, I did it so much that one day I noticed that my son was changing his bedroom around every week. I was like,
it rubbed off.
That's because he saw his mother change the every week. I was like compulsive about it. I don't know why.
That's interesting.
I lived in an apartment, so
it needed to feel new and refreshing.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
It was how I cleaned, to get behind.
Oh, well, I like
to get behind stuff, but that was the excuse I used. But I was always changing things around. Always.
Which it blows my mind because I feel like we are so similar, right? We're both water signs. We have the same rising and moon sign, but I am the exact opposite. Everything has a fucking place. It stays there. It's in its place. It just that once I've made that decision, it's done. It doesn't move, and I want it back in its place. If it
that gives me anxiety just thinking about it.
Wait, so when you come into my house and like it hasn't changed in 5 years?
No,
maybe?
It gives me anxiety thinking about my own self doing that. Like
not
I can't make a
changing stuff?
decision for something to stay somewhere. Like I don't think through it. It goes by feeling. My changing around is a feeling. I'm like, oh, I think I'm going to move that over to that wall over there. Like when I change this area right here, it's like, yeah, I think that's going to be better on that wall. And so then I'll move it. All
right. I will tell you the one thing that I grew up with that might have stemmed from all of your moving shit around. I never wanted to hang anything on a wall or put nails in walls. I never wanted to do anything permanent, like where I lived, because I rented forever until 6 years ago. 6 years ago. So that was always a real problem. And even in the house that we bought, it was really, when I nail stuff into a wall, I have anxiety about it. I don't like it. I feel like I'm going to want to change it in a week. So I'm like, I just won't hang anything up. Like adding all those family portraits that I added a couple years ago, that was really fucking hard to do. Like I had a real visceral physical reaction to that. Like, this is going to get fucked up. This isn't going to be right. Like
that would have been a good thing to like, really, right? That would have been a good thing to journal about, because now here you are 2 years later, and now what do you feel about it?
I want to add more.
Okay.
Yeah, I want now it needs
what
to
a change,
extend.
right?
Yeah, but I just didn't know why. So maybe it was because of your moving
stuff all around.
And then you'd have all the holes in the wall, and I can't deal with that.
I don't know that I had that much stuff on the walls.
Yeah.
I don't really remember.
I remember the tapestries on the wall.
Tapestries is what I had.
Yeah,
so
and mirrors.
Tapestries and mirrors. That's about it.
Yeah,
not a bunch of pictures.
This was such a fucking side rail diversion over to a different town.
Sorry, we're gonna return now to journaling, and
these were ideas of things to journal about. How your mom moved stuff around when you were little, so you don't move anything around when you're older. Okay. I totally lost where we were, but
we're on number 6.
I think making it easy. Yeah. So I remember when I started journaling, number one, I don't like the word journaling, so call it whatever you want. Okay. Journaling, I just have like this aversion to the word, but
Dear Diary.
Ugh, yeah. Skin's crawling already. I just don't.
Wait, when I was little, they actually sold diaries that had little locks on them.
You should see her face as she's telling this story. It turns into this very sentimental little
if
kid.
Anybody is my age, you can probably remember the little diaries. They were probably, I don't know,
an index card shape.
Maybe
that's what it looks
3
like
by 5. They were, and they were like, and they had a little lock on them, so you could keep your brother out from reading your stuff.
I love that.
But they sold them for like really young girls. Like I was probably 10 or 11 when I remember being exposed to those, and I was like, and it was like, Dear Diary, today, blah blah blah. Whatever.
Today, Johnny tried to grab my hand on the playground, and I told him to go fuck himself.
And Nancy really sucks. They really hate her.
Oh, Lord.
She stole Jack from me or whatever.
Oh, my gosh. All the things. See, those could be turned into songs today. Like, you could have been Taylor Swift 0.0 or something with all the journaling. So I think making it easy on yourself is about... the first question we kind of asked is like, what is journaling to you? What does it mean to write your things down? What does that look like for you? Make it a practice that gives you that dopamine kick. Okay. We're always going to talk about that. Self-care is about feeling good when you reward yourself. And so if the journaling thing, writing stuff down, it should feel good at the end of it. Or, let's back up. It should feel good when you go to start it. It's like getting into that habit of it, that routine, that ritual, really setting the space and time for yourself to be like, and right now is self-care time. Just like getting pedicures and manicures, getting your hair done, going to spray tans. What else do people do? Massages.
Yeah. Soaking in the tub.
Going to the beach. I mean, whatever your self-care thing is, right? Like, can add that in as something. And I think with making it easy on yourself is don't fucking hold yourself to strict standards. Here I am. I told you I haven't even journaled for a year and a half. I'm going to journal again. It's important to me, but you stop and you start and you stop and you start.
Yeah.
Figure out what works for you, and don't be afraid of the failure. Remember, failing fast means that you try something, you see if it works for you. It didn't work. That's okay. Let it go. It's like
Is
going
that
to
why I
this,
have 47 partially completed journals?
and then you finally learn that you just need a smaller one. Stop buying journals with 400 pages.
Yeah,
Get one
exactly.
that's like 150, maybe.
Yeah.
And add artwork.
Well, my
Fuck
life
it.
my life is much more calm now than
Yeah.
it was, 5 or 6 years ago.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
there's not a lot of things that I would need to like release, but I could write some gratitude journaling because that's always helpful. I feel to
Yeah.
remind you of, we don't always think like that.
Yeah.
We don't always just think
Being
about,
present and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So I think
Well,
that could
also
be helpful.
anything that you're trying to manifest, like writing about that and your thoughts about it, self-worth, what do you deserve? Where are you going in the next couple years? I think that, I don't know where I wrote this in here because now I don't see it, but I will tell you that one of the things that I like to do is I like to imagine that I'm writing to or for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think of it as like a person in this world right now. I think of it as like, what if I'm writing to my past life self and like they're getting to see this now? What about my higher self? What about my team of light, guardian angels? Maybe sometimes I write to my dad, or I think of my dad while I'm writing because he's on the other side and I'm like, hey, here we go. Like, here's some things that are just coming up about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I often find that if I think of somebody else that it's going to also benefit, or like that they're seeing it too, that I'm putting in that effort or putting in that work, I really like that. That feels gratifying to me because
Yeah.
it's a motivator of like, oh yeah, my team of light kind of needs to hear from me. So maybe I should write, and so that they can see kind of what I'm going through, because
Yeah.
maybe they can hear all the thoughts in my head, but giving myself that space and ritual to write it all down and them see like she is doing the work, like good. Okay.
Yeah.
It's encouraging to think that they're like over there applauding and like, yeah, woo, go Jamie, get it fucking done. So the part that I was supposed to say about making it easy on yourself is just get fucking journaling prompts. Like, don't try to think all deep and philosophical and be all something that you're not right now. You can get to that point if that's where you want to be. Journaling prompts are fucking awesome because
Where do you get those?
everywhere. Fuck Pinterest. I don't know. I have a whole bullet journal Pinterest board of stuff I've never done because it's just all sitting there because that's what Pinterest does, right? You just have all these ideas and you're like, yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
And you can come back to it whenever you want.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of times it's from like when I listen to Molly McCord, when I was listening to her a lot more,
man.
I journal about that stuff. Or when I figure something out about myself, like when looking through my different numerology, or I just whatever, all these, when I have epiphanies about me, I'm like, oh, that needs to get journaled down.
You need to write it
I need
down,
to write that
right?
down.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because it solidifies it for me so that I won't forget. So I
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that in closing, because I think we can close.
Yeah, I think so.
We covered all of our points, and we really are hoping that you guys consider journaling as a healing tool. It really can be. And I also think that it's a creative and artistic endeavor. If you're like me, I'm going to add all the colors and washi tapes and stickers. I'm addicted to them.
That makes it fun. I
Yeah.
think that makes it.
The dopamine kick,
Yeah,
you need
for
it.
sure.
Whatever about it can make you happy. And, there have been days where I literally like got out the journal and was like, this day just fucking sucks. I'm ready for it to be over with. And then I go to bed. I'm like, that's it. I'm
That's
done.
what you wrote?
Yep. This day fucking sucks. And that's it. And I put a big exclamation point on the page, and then I shut the journal all dramatically and like, fuck you. Like, just done.
And that ends your day.
And then I can go to bed kind of more peacefully because I'm like, I told the world off. There you go.
There you go.
Fuck it all.
There you go.
Well, in closing, yes. We're
Yeah.
done. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. In
Aw.
closing, yeah.
In closing, we want you to know that journaling is one of the most accessible, free. It's fucking free. Well, I guess you do got to buy a book and a pen eventually, but mostly free.
Yeah, it's pretty as a tool for healing.
As a tool for healing, it's pretty free.
It's pretty
Yeah.
pretty
Low cost.
Low cost.
Okay,
yeah.
low cost. We'll go with that.
Not much of an investment there.
So, cost versus like the benefit.
Yeah, the ROI.
Highly beneficial, right? It's a really powerful tool for healing. And it's not like you need to be a great writer or you need to have like, what I was going to say etiquette, but that's not it. What is it?
Perfect grammar, perfect
Yeah,
spelling,
all the shit that-
all that stuff.
I
Your English
hated
teacher's
English.
not from high school is not going to come behind and grade it.
I hated English
grade your
so much.
journal. Nobody's
Yeah.
going to.
Nobody's going to grade
Nobody's going to grade it
or
and be like,
write a review on it and be like,
I can't
do not
believe you
recommend
spelled,
reading this.
I can't believe you didn't spell
don't see
accomplishment
this
correct.
movie.
Nobody's doing that.
The only
It's
judge
yours.
of this stuff is going to be you, and be
Yeah.
kind to yourself. We're trying. That's also
And I think
self-care.
another thing too is that, like, if you're really averse to writing, because depending on if you're millennial or boomer, maybe, because that's kind of like our group, right?
I don't know. I get confused because
Anyway,
I think I'm called a Gillennial.
Okay.
I'm Jen and Millen.
Yeah. You might
I'm a
be more
gentleman.
comfortable with a digital version of
Yeah.
a journal. So I always, for a long time, I struggled with just the pen to the paper. My hand would cramp. The writing would start going at a curve, like this. And so, so I've done, and I can type really fast. So
typing,
really,
yeah.
typing's a good way to get it in. Or
whatever
even
skill you have, right? Play to your
recording.
skill.
Even just get out what's in your head and what's in your emotions and
And what you're dealing with and what you're going through,
what you're dealing with and what you're going through.
Yeah. Speak it to the universe.
All right. So let's
All
start.
right.
Let's start journaling. Let's start writing.
Yeah. I think whether you're using it for, working through trauma or clarifying your thoughts or setting intentions for your future, like journaling is a path to both wellness and personal empowerment and taking back your fucking power, okay? Like, as you get better, you get more powerful. You own your energy, you own your space, you own what you're doing.
Yeah.
We do this because we love you guys.
Okay.
All right. See
Until
you next
next time.
time. Bye.